Hello and welcome back. This is another video where we discuss the New World Translation, comparing it with the King James Version, the New World Translation Curiosities. And today we're going to be talking about I am, the words that are found in John 8, verse 58, and also in Exodus 3:14. As we read John 8, we find that the Pharisees and Jesus are at it again, as they typically are. And amongst the things that they were speaking about was Abraham. Abraham was the Pharisees' father, and they were kind of proud about that. But at the same time, Jesus was reminding them if they really knew Abraham, they would know about the upcoming promise of the Messiah, which of course is Jesus. So let's read a little bit about that in John 8, starting at verse 57. Then said the Jews unto him, Thou art not yet 50 years old, and thou hast seen Abraham? Jesus said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am. So what did he mean by that? That's part of what we're going to be speaking about. Let's notice what the pulpit commentary has to say about this scripture, especially pertaining to I am. It says, numerous attempts have been made to explain this climacteric utterance on some humanistic theory. Climacteric is a word that basically means eventful. So this is an eventful event with numerous attempts to explain, and we're going to cover some of those numerous attempts here. Now, I was born and raised in a Lutheran church, a Lutheran school, Lutheran Vacation Bible School, and whenever I am came up, the Lutheran church connected that I am with another I am that's in Exodus 3 verse 14. And I've always taken that for granted without questioning why or why not should it be, and is there more to it. So let's look at that scripture now in Exodus 3 verse 14. And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me to you. This is when God was speaking to Moses in the burning bush during that time. But does merely using the words I am mean anything significant? After all, didn't Paul use those words, I am, in 1 Corinthians 15? Let's just look at that one up quickly here. 1 Corinthians 15 verse 10. But by the grace of God I am what I am, and his grace was bestowed upon me was not in vain. Well, we really don't need to connect those words, so it shows that they may not always need to be. So what's the significance here? We're going to check that out. Actually, when we read I am, the words that Jesus said, he never ever said I am. If we go back to the original languages, Jesus said ego eimi, which is the Greek that is recorded in the Bible. And when we go back to the Exodus account, where God is speaking to Moses, those words that God said in the original language is Aya, Asher, Aya, or something to that sort anyhow. I'm not a real solid scholar on those languages. Another thing too, there was a Bible translation that was used during the time of Jesus. It was called the Greek Septuagint version. And Exodus 3:14 used the words ho on. So all three of those words in the original languages aren't the same, although when translated in most English Bibles, they become the same. Curiously, the Hebrew words Aya, Asher, Ayer does mean a little more than just I am, but it means something more like I am, you're going to know it, I'm going to prove it, and nothing's going to stop me. Of course, it's easier to say I am, but the whole gist of the Aya, Asher, Aya means more than that. One thing that's curious, let me move this out of the way a little bit, is what certain commentaries have to say about I am, and specifically in this one reference to what Jesus says as far as I am. This is the Cottage Bible Commentary and Expositor, speaks a little bit more on the scripture. And let's take note of what it says here. I am. This clause, according to Dr. Smith, is attended with some difficulty. We shall give an outline of his remarks. Number 1. Some suppose it alludes to Exodus 3:14, but the Hebrew is in the future. Number 2. The predicate of the preposition may be left to be supplied by the minds of the hearers. Example, I am the Christ. And number 3, I am may be taken in the sense of the past. I was. This is not unusual. So what's he saying here? When Jesus was speaking of I am, he was speaking of the present, but he was also speaking of the past. Before Abraham was, I am, showing that he's been around for at least that period of time. But when we speak of the Ea, Asher, Ea, the Hebrew that's recorded from the burning bush, that was all meant to go into the future. I will be, I will prove to be, this is what will happen. So each of those terms are from different directions. One is speaking from the past, one is speaking into the future. So there's no connection as far as time is concerned. Let's take note of what's in this video clip that we're about to see.
Now you might think, and a lot of your study Bibles will immediately reference you straight back to Exodus 3:14, and probably a lot of you are thinking the same thing. You go, the burning bush. I am that I am. Tell them I am sent you. Well, yes and no. Yes and no. There is a connection, but that's not the immediate connection that you need to make. Because the Greek of the New Testament reflects the Greek of what's called the Greek Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Old Testament, that the early church utilized widely, and certainly by the time of John, the audience that John's writing to, he quotes from the Old Testament, from the Greek Septuagint. And so when you would look at what's found in Exodus 3:14 in the Greek translation, the emphasis isn't on ego eimi, it's on another phrase, ha'on, the one being. And many Jehovah's Witnesses, believe it or not, are aware of this. So you need to be very careful when you utilize this information to utilize it accurately, because many of these folks, they spend hours a week preparing to talk to you. Most of us don't spend hours a week preparing to talk to them. And so we need to be careful at that point.
Okay, so what's one reason that Jehovah's Witnesses are aware of this? Could it be because the New World Translation has those words supplied in different English words? Let's check those out. Here I have a New World Translation where all of the volumes that were originally released little by little are all put together in one of the earliest editions from the early 1960s. We kind of need this because we're referring to the Old Testament. The old book that I've had for my past videos was strictly the New Testament. So we'll read John 8:58 from the New World Translation. Jesus said to them, "Most truly I say to you, before Abraham came into existence, I have been." Not I am, but I have been. And we compare that with Exodus 3:14. At this God said to Moses, "I shall prove to be what I shall prove to be." And he added, "This is what you are to say to the sons of Israel, I shall prove to be, has sent me to you." So again, this is in the future tense, and it's more than I am, but he's going to prove himself. God will be proving himself. Now let's read again John 8:58, and we'll pay attention to a little bit of what kind of sense does it make as we read it. Jesus said unto them, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am." Well, I am what? That almost leaves like there's a little bit of an open question there. And some scholars will say more should be added, or it should be translated differently. Some will speak about a predicate is required, others will say no. Some will even show that words ought to be added. Even the King James Version has added words after ego eimi in other verses. When you translate from one language into another, sometimes you have to add words to make the sense complete. And we're going to be looking at some of those words out of the King James Version. What they did to show that they added words is they typically used a different font, as the word is that we use today. The words that they add are in italics. So we'll look at some of those Bible verses and see where King James itself has added other words, even in the additional thought of I am, ego eimi, in the original language. So here's our first example. It's taken from John chapter 4, verse 26. It says there, Jesus saith unto her, I that speak unto thee am he. The original Greek does have ego eimi, and as we can see here, the last word he is in italics, which shows that the King James Version inserted a word that isn't in the original language. So ultimately, I am, he is added to explain ego eimi. Here we have John 8:28. Then said Jesus unto them, When ye have lifted up the Son of Man, then shall ye know that I am he. There again, ego eimi, and then he is added by King James. Here we have John 9, verse 9. Some said, This is he. Others said, He is like him. But he said, I am he. Again, ego eimi plus the word he. Now here's one that's a little bit different, taken from Luke 21, verse 8. And he said, Take heed that ye be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ. Notice they added the word Christ here, the King James Version, and it isn't in the original languages. They did the same thing on Mark 13, verse 6, too. So sometimes words do need to be added to make full sense in the English language. Another curious thought, too, is that 350 years later, there were some people trying to make a name of ego eimi and connect that to other scriptures, but even then, that was during a time of great apostasy, during a time of political upheaval, but none of those people were inspired by God's Spirit as those who wrote the Bible. Not surprisingly, the very first English translation that we have from 1526, translated by William Tyndale, wrote in Exodus, I will be what I will be. And he said, This shalt thou say unto ye children of Israel, I will be, did send me to you. It's spelled a little different there, so it's a little trickier to read. Not only that, but the next English translation, the Coverdale translation from 1535, also said pretty much the same thing. I will be. Didn't use the words I am in those translations. Okay, and another thought that we can consider too, the Geneva Bible. This is a replica of the Geneva Bible from 1599. In their Bible, they had more than just scriptures. They had plenty of footnotes, plenty of cross-references, plenty of commentary, and in some cases, the notes and the comments outweigh the scriptures on the page. There's more information there. But even still, back in those early times before King James, all the comments they have in here, nowhere do they connect the I am of John 8:58 and the I am of Exodus 3:14. So it wasn't done even at that time, at least not prominently. Some people will say that I am is more like a name or a title, and it flows a little bit better, saying before Abraham was, I am. But is that really the case? Take note of what we read here. Ego eimi in John 8:58 cannot be regarded as a title because it requires the meaning of I am in existence. To illustrate, we would not say in translation, before Abraham came into existence, Jesus, or before Abraham came into existence, God. Missing from both is I am, which is the very expression believed to be a divine name. Okay, so we don't say those other names before Abraham was Jesus. before Abraham was God. That's the point here. So we wouldn't say before Abraham was I am in the form of a name either. Okay, to save some time, I have some books, some Bibles, some commentaries, all having to do with either John chapter 8 verse 58 or Exodus 3:14. Just to be quick, they're already opened up. Young's Concise Critical Bible Commentary speaks of the scripture in John 8. Before Abraham's coming, I am he, is the literal translation. And again, to keep things kind of moving a little bit. And from the New American Standard Bible, there's a comment about before Abraham was, literally, before Abraham was, came into being. So it shows that there is more than just I am, but that Jesus came into being, and of course was. We've learned that from one of the other videos that I've made prior about Jesus. He was the only begotten Son. He was the beginning of creation. He was the firstborn of all creation. So yes, he existed before Abraham. Just different ways of putting it. Here we have another translation, Newcomb's translation. Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was born, I am he. So again, the word he is added to make fuller sense. Another translation. Oh, this is the one from Exodus here. What is his name? What shall I say to them? And God said to Moses, I will be what I will be. And he said, you are to say to the sons of Israel, will be has sent me to you. So again, we have some various translations. This one is from Goodspeed. Edgar J. Goodspeed is his name. Yes. I even have a copy signed by the translator, if that means anything. I tell you, I existed before Abraham was born. One of the nice things about individual translators over committee translators is that they really don't have to worry about being subject to conformity with their peers as they're translating their Bibles. And here we have Moffat's translation. God said to Moses, I will be what I will be. Tell the Israelites that I will be has sent you to them. That's quite the same as what the New World Translation has, actually. And in his John 8:58, truly, truly, I say to you, Jesus said, I have existed before Abraham was born. So they make clear the sense. One last one here, Revised English Version. Therefore the Jews said to him, you are not yet 50 years old, and you have seen Abraham? Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was born, I am the one. So the sense is made more complete in many other translations. One of the advantages of having so many translations. Okay, so this isn't to say that I am is a wrong translation and shouldn't be used. It's just to point out that there are other alternatives that are still correct and in some cases beneficial. Again, I got so many books here. And even one of the reasons why Jehovah's Witnesses were one step ahead on having a clearer understanding of this. And again, explain why the New World Translation is a little different than the King James Version.
On Saturday mornings, when you are awakened early in the morning by two people standing at your front door, one of whom has a tie on, they both have book bags, they have a strange look upon the face, and they want to share with you a Watchtower or Awake magazine. I say, seriously, theirs is a dark life. It is a sad life. I have attended their conferences. It is a sad life. It is a sad life. It is a sad life.
So what on earth is he talking about? We're sad? I don't think so. He never asked me, and I'm sure he never asked any of the hundreds of other witnesses that I know. He certainly hasn't asked the tens of thousands that we see when we go to conventions and assemblies, and even the hundreds of thousands that have been at some conventions back in the 50s anyhow. 57, there was almost over a quarter million Jehovah's Witnesses at the Divine Will Assembly. It was in the Yankee Stadium and the Polo Grounds, and we have that documentary here on this channel, Jehovah's Witnesses History on Film. Well, we certainly don't have to agree with a lot of these scholars. They don't agree among themselves, so we can disagree with them too. We indeed are a very happy people. And just in closing, I will have up here in these corners 2 links where you can watch from 1956, The Happiness of the New World Society. It's another documentary that was made in the 50s of one of the conventions that we had. And also a slide program from 1991, Happy Conventioners in Eastern Europe. This was shortly after the Berlin Wall fell, and many witnesses were now free to meet, and we've had plenty of large conventions that were in the area, and this Happy Conventioners in Eastern Europe documents that. So hopefully you watch them. Don't forget, if you have other films, old tape recordings, that we can digitize and share here on this channel, please get in touch with me. And don't forget to subscribe and to hit the little bell button down there. There's on your screen somewhere where you'll be able to be notified whenever something new comes up on this channel. And also the like button. So thank you very much, and hope to see you soon again. Bye-bye.
I am what I am, and that's all what I am. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man.